All of us sensible people in the middle need to figure this out. Hey, what do you hear? What do you say? My Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, Google Plus, your sister's ass, the Pony Express. A very ticked off Vic here. You know what ticks me off? The law enforcement issue is really complicated, and too many people on both sides need to understand it, but they don't. Now follow me. And I don't need your hate or stupidity. If you just listen to the whole thing, and then you'll understand that I'm trying to deal with a very sensitive and complicated and important issue. So all you small-minded people, try to open your minds for 1 minute and listen to what I'm saying. And to all you rational people, thank you for being you. And I'm in a hotel room, so I need to try to control myself. Okay, let me try to lay this out. Here's what I think we can all agree on. Law enforcement officers were never supposed to be judge, jury, and executioner. That is simply something that no one person should ever be able to do, and no person should want them to be able to do that. But there are times when we kind of expect them to be that. Let's be fair. Come on, let's be honest. And sometimes we even want them to be the judge, jury, and executioner. Now follow me. When officers arrive in a dangerous scene and innocent people are being hunted by a fucking madman, we want them to get the bad guy, especially if it's a really bad guy. If someone is walking around Walmart shooting people for no reason, we don't have a problem with law enforcement quickly ending the horror. Yes, of course, in a perfect world, we want every bad guy to come out with their hands up, but they don't. And it's not a perfect world. Now, on the flip side, there's something like George Floyd. We all saw it. At a certain point, Floyd was no longer a threat. 3 officers had him down. He had no weapon. He was handcuffed. Chauvin was on his neck, period. In my opinion, you can't kneel on someone's neck for 9.5 minutes when they're handcuffed and 3 other officers are on him and he has no weapon and he's just lying there saying he can't breathe. You just can't. Something was off there. I think most people would agree that this was just wrong. So where do we go from here? Look, first of all, we all have to realize that cops have the most unusual and difficult job of anyone in this country. They just do. That's not making excuses for them. It's just the reality. There is no job like a cop. The danger and stress every single minute of every single day is ridiculous. I mean, they put their life on the line because that's their job. And any traffic stop could be their last. Now, that said, we also need to be able to call out the bad cop. If we all agree that there are bad everything in every line of work, then that means we admit that there have to be some bad cops. Look, if a dentist knocks out a patient and takes off their clothes, we demand that the dentist be dealt with immediately. We don't demand all dentists must change. It's the same with cops. We must be able to demand that a bad cop be dealt with. But that doesn't mean we have a problem with all cops, because that's not reality either. What's the percentage? I don't know. Look, in the Old West, there was a sheriff. Why? To keep the peace. Why? Because outlaws were a reality. Why? Because let's face it, we were an unusual and violent society. We just were. And here's the other reality. We still are a very violent society. Yeah, sure, we've become more civilized over time, I guess, but with hundreds of millions of people in this country, we are going to have a large number of bad people. We just are, for whatever reason. But we have to have police. Who's going to be called when a bank is being robbed, or when the nut is walking around the streets with a knife, or when someone's broken into your house? Who do you call? Come on. This is a very complicated issue. Society isn't going to change because the fact is crazy and mean people will always be around. That's how humans are. We're not perfect, and a lot of really bad apples exist. So we need to try to keep guns out of the hands of the bad guys and mentally unstable people, which is a whole different rant. But nuts are still going to get guns, and we need to deal with that. Sadly, this issue is not going to go away. It can get better, but I don't believe it will ever 100% go away. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. Of course, you just don't eliminate the police either. Only the extreme nut would say that. And on the other hand, to not recognize that we have to deal with the issue of bad cops is something the other side needs to get a handle on. What we have to try to do is reform the police. Reform, not defund, not eliminate, reform. Like we've reformed everything else in society, like laws and taxes and medicine and so many other things we rely on every single day that have been made better, like car safety. All the safety features in cars has lowered the death and injury rates year after year since 1945. That's great. But are there still accidents and death on the highway? You know the answer to that. Every part of society is evaluated over time so we can try to make it work better. It's okay to say law enforcement doesn't work perfectly every second because cops are only humans too. But we could also make their jobs a little easier. With today's technology, do cops really need to pull somebody over because their taillight is out? They can take a picture and send a ticket in the mail. Just like the fucking cameras for speeding, take a picture of your license plate, and Easy Pass toll booths do the same thing. There's no reason for cops to have to make so many dangerous stops in dangerous areas late at night. That's just one example. Look, we can figure this out. The people who think there are no bad cops are just as stupid as the people who want to eliminate all cops. All of us sensible people in the middle need to figure this out. We're the majority. It's not fair to any of us, and it's not fair to law enforcement. We all need to recognize society needs law enforcement. But we need to do a better job training them, selecting them, and helping them once they are on the job. We all need to take a step back and figure out how to help reform law enforcement so it evolves as society evolves. We don't live in the old West anymore, but we have really complex problems and a lot of people in this country, and enough of them are going to be really bad people. I mean, that's just reality. It is what it is. For once, can we please look at an issue and deal with it in a smart way? Guns too. Now, that's a whole other rant, but there's no reason why we can't figure this shit out. And once we do, it will be a better place for all of us. For me, for you, for the right, for the left, and for most of all, for the cops and the innocent people who suffer for no reason. Is there a problem when someone is shot and killed for virtually no reason? Yes. Are there cops out there doing a really good job under a very difficult circumstance? Yes. Let's try to deal with it the way we deal with every other issue in this country that needs to be fixed. The law enforcement issue is really complicated, and too many people on both sides need to understand it, but they don't. And that's what fucking ticks me off.